to give you guys a little walk around to the 210. I don't spend much time on her. I'm always on the 160 Hitachi, and for the most part I prefer that machine. But this has a nicer cab. Hitachi has shitty cabs. I know the newer ones now are a little bit nicer, but they don't have as much space as this. Like, I can fit my lunch bucket behind the seat here, no problem. And I mean, that's kind of a fickle thing. I think the joysticks on here are a lot nicer than the Hitachi too. So you put a day in this and you're not as tired as you are in the hitch. And it's not like I'm running a dragline or nothing, but sometimes those things make a difference. This thing's got fly-by-wire controls, and they've been a bit of a pain in the ass. A few years ago when I came back from Alberta, after being away for about a year or two, we had some controller that controls the auxiliary hydraulics. It's kind of a converter. It goes from 24 to 12 volt or something like that. And I was trying to use the flail mulcher, and it crapped out. I could not use it at all. And there's two of them on there, so after the shitty dealership mechanic went and fucked around for a day or two trying to figure out his ass from a hole in the ground, they swapped over the other controller, or like the converter thing, and so it didn't have any radio, which wasn't the end of the world. Neither does my little Coyote tractor. Might change that. And so then finally we could use the mulcher, but I mean, it was ridiculous. I lost a day or two worth of work because of it. We needed the flail because we were working next to a road, and we can charge a little bit more with this big guy. And it's not exactly, you know, it's not as simple as just putting the attachment on. We also had to put the Alexa and windshield on, and it all takes time. You know, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So then you fast forward to last year, the whole CPU failed on it, so he had to get a new one, but instead he just deals with a dealership in Ontario. The guy that he deals with is known as Mr. Kobelko on the heavy equipment forum. He's not on there anymore because everybody's always bugging him, I guess. And he knows everything about these things, but I mean, that's just kind of how retarded this thing is. The dealership doesn't know fuck all about these things. And let's see how hot these are. Yeah, they're pretty warm. And anyway, the dealership doesn't know anything about it, and their mechanics are mostly ag mechanics. So, I mean, of course they don't know anything about excavators. And so he got a new computer through that dealer in Ontario. They reprogrammed it or something, and that was $6,000 to replace that whole thing. And then kind of rewind to a few years before. This was one of the first machines with DEF, and it was nothing but problems. He wouldn't even run this thing in the winter because there's just nothing but problems with the DEF all the time. And it had the thing to purge the DEF out of the lines back into the tank and all that, but just nothing but sensor troubles all the time. That's a DEF tank there. It's empty now. And so once it came off warranty, it's at 5,000 hours now. So once the whole machine came off of warranty, called up the one of these guys who does deletes and stuff like that. And the guy came. He had this computer module. He pulled a fuse out of the back of the cab there, put this module in, and we've never dealt with it since. He drained all the DEF out of the tank, so that's no problem anymore. So as far as that goes, that's the last time we had any problem with the emissions on this damn thing. But now I know some of the new ones, they've got like what do you call it, DPF and diesel oxidation catalyst and selective catalytic reduction and all this crap that doesn't do you any good. And so I don't know how it is to delete or try and bypass those stupid emission systems. Where's my foot rest there? The tracks are all packed up with ice. So it'll go, we're friends with a Hutterite colony, so it'll go in their shop overnight and thaw out and get a pressure wash once we're all done with it. So yeah, so it's a nice machine to run. It's got oodles of power. It's got this 6-cylinder Fiat Iveco motor in it, but it's kind of a fickle motor. It's always fussy. It doesn't like it when it's cold out. You know, like I did that culvert the other day and it threw up all these codes and everything, and you had to turn off the auto idle and turn up the regular idle, you know, to a fast idle to warm it up. And it's always stupid shit like that. And now I guess it's using a bit of antifreeze or something, because he gave me a jug of mixed antifreeze to put in. So it's kind of a shame, because the first Kobelcos I got onto back in about 2011 were really nice. I ran a SK350, and I swear that thing would bury a cat or a John Deere any day of the week, month, or year. It had so much power, and it hardly used any fuel. And John Deere and Cat, I don't know about Cat these days. I haven't really run much since I ran a 349 in about, was it 2015 or 16? And anyway, I don't know, John Deere doesn't seem to understand fuel efficiency. I've run John Deere 200s and 210s, 200 CLC, 200 DLC, 690E. I've run quite a few of them, and if it's got a Deere motor in it, it seems to be always a fuel pig. We had a 180G last year on rent from Brandt Tractor, who also tried to fuck us over on that rent. And they are just pigs on fuel. Like, just leave that Isuzu diesel in there and leave it alone. In fact, just leave it in the Hitachi colors, because they know more about making a good machine than John Deere does. John Deere's good at stuff like loaders and dozers. To stick with that. So yeah, so it's kind of a shame. I mean, maybe this one was just made on a Monday or a Friday afternoon, but you know, when you're a small company and you depend on that machine, that's kind of a slap in the face. So I don't know, if we do look at getting a new machine next year, just so we can stay current with some of our government work, then he said that Volvo offered a free demo, so I don't know, that's more than others. But, and it's a 200, so it's actually a little bit lighter than this, so we can pull it behind our truck and trailer, or behind our tandem axle truck. We've got a triple axle trailer for it. This thing's just almost a little bit too heavy for that thing. I'm sure if we took that stupid thumb off, then it would lighten up a bit, but every once in a blue moon we might actually use it. So, but yeah, so that's a story about the Kobelco. Talk to you later.